Welcome to Season 2 of the Craft Beer Connoisseurs Podcast. I'm Chris, and if you're new to the podcast, we're three friends and a producer who like to showcase craft breweries and their beers. Also, we like to end every episode with a short conversation on a variety of different topics. If you're not new to the podcast, welcome back. We'll keep things similar to Season 1. After all, if it isn't broke, then don't fix it. Whether you're new or returning, please feel free to listen to all of our Season 1 content. And remember to follow us on Instagram at Craft Beer Cons, send a friend request on Untappd, or subscribe on YouTube at Craft Beer Connoisseurs. Also, drop a comment, like, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Now for today's episode. Welcome to Craft Beer Connoisseurs. I'm Chris.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Brett. And along with us today is producer Wayne.
Hello, Wayne.
It's Wayne's World, and we're just living in it.
There it is. There it is. All right, so on today's episode, we're going to be reviewing Sleeping Giant Brewing Company out of Thunder Bay, Ontario.
Yeah, and we're going to be trying two of their beers. The first one is called Whiteout, which is a New England Pale Ale. And the second is their brand new release, which is called Cranberry Saison, which is, of course, a Saison.
Who could have thought?
I was going to guess it.
So what a surprise.
Oh, it's a sour. No, it's a Saison. And to finish up the episode, we're going to talk about our ideas of a backyard oasis.
So Sleeping Giant is located at 712 McDonald Street in Thunder Bay, which is close to the downtown area. The brewery first opened in 2012, so it's been around for a little while.
Yeah.
And it moved to its current location, which is an old warehouse building that's approximately 12,000 square feet.
Wow.
Back in 2016. So yeah,
That's
really
a fair
big building.
size, eh?
Yeah, decent size, yeah.
Some would say giant.
There you go.
Some would.
See what I did there? Anyway, the brewery is owned by Dre and Kyle Mulligan. Dre is a kindergarten teacher. Kyle, a family physician with a home brewing hobby at the very beginning. Now, I don't think they're brewing out of their home. They're brewing out of a 12,000 square foot facility.
Yeah.
A giant facility, someone says. So I hear. All right, so yeah, you know, kind of how these things kind of transpire, right? So they had a business plan.
Yep.
They started small, right? 2 taps, you know, kind of a hand-painted sign, steadily kind of growing into like this multi-million-dollar business that we now know as Sleeping Giant Brewing.
Yep.
And this was kind of impressive. Like, I'll be honest. I look at my schedule. I look at everybody else's schedule here. It's tight.
It's tight just to make this happen.
Yeah.
It's true. It is. And what they did is they kept their original professions. So we're talking about a kindergarten teacher and a family physician.
Yeah. That's
And
tough.
I'm sure over the last 2 years, it was probably very, very difficult for them. But I mean, I'm sure they got some people in places.
And kudos to you guys for doing that, 100%.
Yeah,
by the way.
great job,
totally.
great job. And those are 2 professions that give back to the community. So that's huge for Dre and Kyle. So yeah. So one kind of keynote of advice that they actually received from a owner of a larger brewery, which is kind of funny because are we talking about physical size? Because 12,000 square
Pretty big. Yeah.
big. Which was an owner in Ontario as well, was whatever your budget is for your startup, double it.
Yeah.
So we see this with construction costs when people are like, oh, yeah, keep 10%, yada, 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 you know, for, you know, spoilage. Take your startup costs, double it, and that's going to basically be where we're at. So,
Right, because even if you don't need all that money, you've got it set aside, and you have an idea like, okay, this is actually the reality of
Right.
what I might need, and if you don't need it all, great. But if
And
you do, it's there.
It's good for budgeting purposes for everything.
Yep.
But with a brewery, I mean, you can take that money that if there's any left over, do it on can art, do it on marketing, right?
Right.
And being up in Thunder Bay, I think it's imperative for them to focus on the marketing because, yeah, you can corner that northern market, but to really kind of creep down southern, you're going to need to spend, I'm sure, a couple bucks. And we'll get to that, I'm sure. So
Yeah.
has anybody been to Thunder Bay?
I have been to Thunder Bay, but this was way before even Sleeping Giant was a thing, right?
Yeah.
It's been a while. I have been to Thunder Bay. I'm not going to mention the reason as to why I was there.
I was
But
hoping you would.
No.
That's a little shady. I have not been to Thunder Bay or obviously then to Sleeping Giant.
Yeah, and same here, and producer the same. So
Yeah.
neither of us have been there, but so Brett seems to be the lone wolf.
But
out
guess
here.
what? We're going to have to get up there eventually.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
I would love to. If they want to host us, I'd be happy to go.
So we have had a few of their beers, not a ton. So Tyler and Wayne actually haven't had any Sleeping Giant beers yet, not on Untapped, anyways.
No, we've been sleeping on the Sleeping Giant.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. We were going through this and like, so myself and you have both had the Skull Rock, which is their like oatmeal stout.
Yeah.
And I've had the Whiteout, which we're going to have a little bit later. But the Northern Lager, I've seen it in like many LCBOs.
Yes.
And I'm like, how have I not had this beer? Did I just have it as like a seventh beer one night and forget to untap it? Or something like that?
Probably.
Probably makes sense.
Yeah.
But like, I feel as though I've had it. I just need to probably like go back in my pictures and feel as though I have.
Could be one of those early morning, wake ups.
Breakfast beers.
Yeah, well, I don't know, that's not what I'm going with, but I get to it.
3 a.m. is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I know for sure. So what I'm kind of actually impressed by this brewery, and I'm kind of disappointed in myself for not having many of their beers. And we're going to see that as we kind of go through this, that they're really large, like they truly are.
Yeah.
And I'd like to kind of go into some more of their beers and try them myself. So what have you had then, Chris? You had the...
Yeah, so I've only had the Skull Rock. So like Brett mentioned, that's the oatmeal stout. So that's available in the LCBO, at least here in London. So that's good. They've made it all the way down here in the LCBOs. So
And we'll get into more of the beers that they had in the LCBOs a little bit later on.
Yeah.
The one thing I want to touch on, though, and I thought this was a really cool idea, was so they had a private event space called the Barrel House, which is a few kind of steps down from the brewery, and it opened kind of shortly before COVID. So during COVID, when all their staff was starting to come back, when they got laid off and were starting to come back, their staff was stating that there wasn't many childcare options due to COVID.
Right.
yeah.
So the Barrel House was actually converted to an unlicensed childcare. So that all the staff had a place for their children so they could go to work and brew beer or do whatever they were doing in the brewery, right? So now that we're kind of, they've kind of went through it, they're actually wanting to license it to allow even more children from the community. And actually, it's also known as a Sleeping Giant Child Care Center.
Nice.
Wow.
So I
that's
feel as
pretty
though,
cool.
child care by day, brew house by night.
So with that being said, I think that goes back to the individuals, right?
Yeah.
Their professions, being in the community, being very caring people, and understanding the value of making your workers happy.
Right. And living those double lives, if you will, as, a regular kind of Joe plus the
Right.
brewery job. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't call a teacher and a doctor a regular Joe, but I get your point.
Yeah, no, but regular kind of like professional.
Yeah, professional,
yeah,
Professional,
exactly.
You're 9 to 5 plus.
Yeah.
And again, kudos to them, because to step up and do something like this is very selfless. And I just feel like these are selfless individuals. And that, I think, the beer can be okay. Let's be honest. The beer might just be okay. But when you are running an establishment where you take the priority of the worker ahead of anything else, the beer just goes up a notch. And you taste that. You understand the story, and that's great for them. So kudos to them.
Absolutely.
So now, what about food? Do they have any food offerings, Chris?
They do not.
Sorry.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm Chris now. Didn't know if you knew that.
You just
That's
were talking,
scary,
so
yeah.
I figured-
Identity theft. It's like
It's a
Jason
crime.
Bateman and Melissa McCarthy in that movie.
I was going with The Office.
Oh,
but,
there you go.
Yeah.
Chris, you want to explain it though?
Yeah, sure. So they don't have their own kitchen, but they do have lots of food trucks on site at the brewery, and they do provide local snacks, which is common in breweries. You can pick up,
for sure.
whatever you call it, dried sausage or whatever.
Pepperettes.
Pepperette. There you go.
Dried sauce.
Dried sausage.
Holy fuck.
What is a dried sausage? That'd be
Well,
great if you could
it's a
explain that to me.
It's a pepperette. Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
A red hot.
Oh, don't listen to our last
so
episode on
I-
Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
You don't mention
The one
dried
thing I will mention
sausage.
is that on the bingo card that you might have, I believe dried sausage was not a word
No.
here.
I don't think I would be accepted in Germany at the Oktoberfest after that.
Right. So here's kind of like a kind of I don't know.
Kind of.
What fun fact between what we're doing now and Upper Thames, right? So Upper Thames was very outdoors inspired. And we look at Sleeping Giant. Sleeping Giant is actually a provincial park in Thunder Bay. So there's the kind of connection. So when we look at what we want to do for breweries, we kind of piece it together. So that's the connection between the two, as Upper Thames outdoors, Sleeping Giant, provincial park in Thunder Bay. Really interesting kind of just seeing that, because we wonder sometimes how people get their names for the breweries, right?
Yeah, true.
Especially when a lot of them, there's this notion that most craft breweries started with a couple of friends, some family that just did some home brewing and expanded, right? a very traditional story within this. So they did the same sort of thing. They started with homebrewing, and they wanted to bring their love of the craft beer to Thunder Bay. And I don't know how many breweries are in Thunder Bay off the top of my head right now, but
They might be the only one.
there might be
There's another one.
Maybe
there might be a
yeah.
couple. But again, because they're so far north from us,
Right.
this
a little
becomes a destination, right? So if you're in the Thunder Bay area, Sleeping Giant's for you. So, Brett, why don't you talk about the tap room?
Yes. So the tap room kind of looks over the stainless tanks and very inclusive storefront to show, the merchandise, local collaborations.
We love that.
Maybe get some dried sausages.
Yeah, maybe.
The one thing that I know I mentioned this earlier, like the one thing, so this is maybe my second thing to mention, but from January 1st to February 14th every year, from every product sold at a licensee location, 50 cents is donated to local charities within the Thunder Bay area.
Nice.
So far, it's been over almost $27,000 has been donated within the Thunder Bay community, which I thought is a pretty cool initiative for sure. And also kind of going back outside of the brewery. The brewery actually uses water from Lake Superior.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
nice.
That lake up there.
Largest lake.
Largest lake
true.
in the world, yeah.
And grain from Canada Malting, which is actually only about 4 kilometers away from the brewery.
Nice.
Pretty short trip.
Again, using local, right? And we find that the best beers use local.
Absolutely. So they package about $25,000 worth of cans on a weekly basis.
That might
all
have been my fault. It's 25,000 cans per week.
$25,000
$25,000 worth of cans.
Okay, you're just thinking about money.
Yeah, always me thinking about money.
But
But
25,000
you could tie that
cans,
into money here.
I mean, that's a lot of money, right? So when we think about how many cans are sold between January 1st and February 14th,
Right.
like you mentioned, Brett,
It's a lot of cans.
yeah, 50 cents from each can is going to the charities, right?
Couple cans.
And they currently have 16 beers on tap at the brewery, which is quite a few.
Yeah, so obviously, a lot of breweries have, brewery exclusives, right? So there's 200 beers that they have on tap at this current time.
Right.
So obviously, that, there's a few beers that haven't made their way down this way, let's just say, right?
Yeah.
But there has been some beers that have made their way down this way that are currently in selected LCBOs in the area. So again, Northern Lager, we touched about that a little bit earlier with the Golden Ale. I like this title, though. Brewing goes to 11.
Nice.
So I feel as though that they brew to about 11 p.m. So it's a double IPA, the Whiteout, which we're gonna have a little bit later, the Skullrock Stout, which I mentioned that earlier, and Mr. Canoehead, a nice red ale, which we actually have a sticker that Sleeping Giant sent us.
Yeah, also the Northern Lager sticker. So shout out to them for that.
Maybe we can sneak those into an Instagram post for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so I kind of touched base on delivery with Upper Thames, so we might as well move on to that one there. So delivery is free over 40 within Thunder Bay area and 15 for shipping across Ontario.
That is correct.
All right.
So hours at the brewery, Monday to Friday, 11 to 8, Saturday, 10 to 8, Sunday, 12 to 8. So if you are ever in the Thunder Bay area, don't be afraid to, maybe not be sleeping while at the brewery, but be awake while you're going to Sleeping Giant.
Absolutely. So we're going to link all their information on our social media so you can check them out.
And beer number 1 is coming up next. Big shout out and thank you to Kyle from Sleeping Giant for the beers on today's episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The first one we're going to be having today is called Whiteout, which is on tap, listed as a New England Pale Ale.
Okay.
But
is there
on
a
the
discrepancy?
On the can,
Yep.
and on the website, it is listed as a hazy ale.
Right.
Good to know.
Yes. But one thing I will confirm between Untapped and the website is that it has a 6.1 ABV and 25 IBUs.
Nice. So this is made with Vermont-style yeast from Escarpment Labs. That is a traditional New England Pale Ale, as you kind of already went through, so I appreciate that. Now, this is with 2 row superior malt, oat malts, and wheat flakes, along with a precision-timed addition of dry hopping that has made this beer as hazy as it can be. And we'll probably see that as we pour it out to discern whether or not it's more of a hazy or if it's more of just like kind of like that ale aspect, right?
Yeah, we shall see. So this beer is kettle hopped with Columbus, Citra, and Mosaic hops with the additional dry hopping. And this is the perfect go-to beer for any time of the year. It has mouth-watering aromas of papaya, followed by a smooth and refreshing mouthfeel.
Are we going to bring Farmer Fife out here for the papaya?
Oh,
Oh, maybe. But Farmer Fife will tell you to follow us on Untapped at Craft Beer Connoisseurs.
Farmer 5 would.
Yeah, he would do that. The overall rating for Whiteout is 3.69 bottle caps out of 5, and a total of 1,333 check-ins. So I think Untapped's being a little bit weird here.
Okay. So
Says
another discrepancy.
I think so, yeah.
Lots of things going on here.
All right.
The can only has 22 ratings of a 3.93, but only has 16 draft.
Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah,
With a total
so-
of 1,333,
so-
right? So
Producer Wayne's
38
math
check-ins.
here. Not good.
All right. So there might be a little...
22, 16, that equals a grand total of 38. And,
wow, Brett can do math.
Yes, again. And 38 does not equal 1,333.
That's true.
There might be a bit of a hiccup in the system. A little bug,
A little
if
bit.
you will.
We
it's
know
a
that the
new-
Whiteout has been out for a while, so it's
Yeah.
not like it's just been recently
It's a new Untapped update, so maybe a little,
Yeah, this one
a
got
few
lost in it,
glitches.
obviously.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, let's not do something that's weird for us. Let's do something that just feels at home. Let's grab our can, let's grab our glass, and let's open her up. I got to be careful with my can. Somebody took it for a little bit of a tumble.
Oh, who was that?
Chris.
So
Wayne's World, we just live in it.
Yeah. We are drinking this Whiteout beer out of a pint glass, so make sure to use your proper glassware.
And again, could be discrepancy, right?
Yeah.
Could be maybe it's an IPA.
Ooh.
Who knows?
So
It's possible.
looking at it, I see this as more of the ale aspect, right? So
It's getting the ale aspect of it.
not very
100%.
hazy. A little bit of head retention, not too much. I don't think it's going to lace a whole lot as we kind of go through it, but I think actually all three of us have very similar pours,
Yes, it's almost like we've done it all the same.
Yeah.
Which
good,
is-
good pour by everybody.
which is interesting for us. So, Chris, do you have anything that you want to mention?
I mean, I agree. It definitely is not that hazy. It's kind of just
Lager-esque?
yeah,
Ale-esque?
Golden ale.
yeah,
Acid, right?
golden
ale,
ale almost. Yeah.
And maybe it's just the golden or the Northern Lager in a Whiteout can. Maybe they duped us.
Uh-oh.
Another discrepancy?
I'm kidding. No, of course they haven't. But
Well,
still.
I will note that this beer is unfiltered and unpasteurized, and I can see some sediment floating around in my beer. So
Very observant.
certainly
Good call.
unfiltered.
Yeah, good call.
A little bit of sediment thrown in, and maybe not as much as yours personally, but yeah, there's a little bit going on here.
Oh,
We're gonna get the
Here we
light
go.
show out
You know
here
what?
so we can definitely see.
We've had
Producer
two producers
Wayne, wow.
do this. I don't know if Wayne's taking notes from past producers.
I think
well,
he
they're all
might
on
be.
WhatsApp. They communicate.
They do, and I'm telling you, when
It's that
what-
group chat.
when WhatsApp went down, I was happy. You know, I didn't get all those messages from the producers.
Twitter
But
became a thing again.
it's true, and I was waiting for them to start a group there. So as we kind of look at this, it's again, I just smell wise. You guys get anything on the nose?
It is kind of citrusy.
Yeah.
It's a little bit faint, but it is there.
Very faint. Yep.
It's one of those things. Like if you were to blindfold me, for example, I would think this would be more so of an like New England IPA style.
From
Just-
the smell.
Yeah, from the smell.
Yeah.
Obviously, being blindfolded right now, I can see, so I can see it's maybe not as hazy as what they were anticipating it to be.
Right.
But I feel as though the taste is still going to be there.
Well, speaking of taste, why don't we taste it to see
Let's do that, Chris.
what
What a
it's
great
like?
idea.
So we'll definitely do that. You guys take the first sip there. So I was just going through some of the information we did receive from the brewery, and producer Wayne forwarded this information to me as well. But it is listed as a traditional New England IPA in both emails that we did receive from Sleeping Giant. So with that being said, either we're drinking this out of the wrong glass, or it just doesn't look or appear as that New England IPA. So again, there's a little bit of kind of maybe it fits into both categories. We're going to taste it and see if it has more of that New England IPA style.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yeah, and we did do the whole New England West Coast, East Coast IPAs on a producer special in the past. So maybe you go back, listen to that, and then as we describe this beer, you can come up with what you decide it is and maybe try it yourself. So it is in the LCBO, so you'd have an opportunity to chime in on this argument as well. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Well, after all that, I would say it definitely does have a little bit of an IPA taste, but yeah, not necessarily like the New England IPA taste, but I don't know. I guess it's somewhere in between the New England IPA and the West Coast IPA for me.
Yes. I'm kind of like, very in between on this one, right? Because, like, again, as you said, it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You know, it's just like, what is this beer trying to be? Like, I don't get me wrong, I like the beer itself, but I feel as though it's kind of almost hiding something, being a hazy ale. Maybe it's like in a snowstorm. Maybe it's a whiteout, right? trying to get to your location. Like, I don't know which way this is going.
Yeah, and you know what? I think if they label that on the can, just as a New England IPA, it would probably better suit them, especially for maybe sales, because as you're picking up, you know what it is. Yeah. And I don't want people to be kind of led astray. They're just like, okay, I'm going for kind of like an ale, maybe a pale ale, hazy ale kind of aspect of it, and then pick this can up, and then it does kind of move into that New England IPA style. Yeah, so I just, again, maybe we got the email, as I said, as a New England IPA, put it right on the can, right?
Of I think it's one of those things like the scent, or like aroma, scent, if you want to call it. The taste is there of a New England. It's just, I think the look of the beer is deceiving us. So I say, for example, if we're drinking this straight out of the can, we don't see the actual look of it. We're like, oh, okay,
this is kind of like the white stout aspect that we talked about previously.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, good call. All right, so why don't we just jump in the top 5 flavor profiles? I'll start off with number 1, hazy as a flavor profile. Discrepancy? Inconsistency?
It ain't number 1. I think it's there. But.
Yeah, I mean, hazy isn't a flavor for, starters. Second of all, I definitely don't think this is necessarily a hazy-looking beer. So I definitely don't agree with it being number 1.
And I don't think it matters really what you put this beer into, what glass perspective, because you will see a kind of color variations depending. If you use an IPA glass, I actually think it would thin it out a bit more.
Yeah, because I have a very distinct image of a New England IPA in my mind,
right?
And this is not it.
For sure. So we'll move on to number 2, so citrus.
Yeah, I'd say there's definitely citrus flavor in this beer. Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree as well.
All right, and what about fruity? Producer Wayne thinks it's 4/5, but I think it's probably 4th out of 5.
It's 4/5 fruity.
4 or 5,
I like the fraction, though, put up here.
I mean, if it's citrusy, it's fruity, right? So, I mean, that kind of makes sense to me.
For sure. Tart?
So, yeah. So we've had, what's this one? 1,300 check-ins?
Yeah, it's like 1,333.
So, and tart ended up being number 4. So I'm not sure why so many people think this beer is tart.
This
I'm getting
is not
zero
a sour beer. No. It is not tart.
So I'd be interesting to see the geography of those check-ins to see if it is more locals, Thunder Bay individuals. But because it is sold in the LCBOs, you would think that this is more en masse, at least Ontario,
right?
That somehow over 1,000 people have done and...
So we're having trouble distinguishing between just a pale ale and a New England IPA. Obviously, people are having trouble thinking it's a sour.
Yeah, I don't get that one. Fair enough. What about bread?
No.
Yeah, no. This is a no for me.
Speaking of mass, no. There's no bread in this.
Yeah, I don't understand how there's kind of any kind of correlation between that, because maybe if it was just a straight up ale or even like a darker ale, possibly, but you don't really get that in this, right? So I think we saw obviously some issues with the Untapped previously earlier on in this when we were talking about those check-ins. Maybe the flavor profiles are a little bit skewed on this one as well. And so maybe we'll just chalk it up to a little bit of a bug in the system. So, all right, Chris, you got the first one. Untapped user thoughts. Let's go.
Yeah. First one comes from Dwayne W., the Kraken 23.
Release the Kraken.
On October 9th, Dwayne said, an aromatic, hazy, delicious ale. This will help with any way out of the whiteouts of winter. So Dwayne rated it a 3.6 out of 5. So
3.6.
Obviously a Untapped subscriber. Yeah, supporter. There you go.
There you go. I got the second one. So Mike B, Bested is the handle. Bested on September 4th. You could get into trouble with this one, but not very hazy. 3.75 out of 5. We all agree with that, right? I think that's where we've kind of been back and forth, whether or not it's a hazy, whether it's not, a New England IPA. All right, with that being said, thanks, Mike B. I'm going to start our ratings off. I'm going to give this probably a 3.5. 3.5. Again, I'm in between that New England IPA and then Hazy Ale, and I think we kind of all agree on that one.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be the exact same 3.5, and like I would almost describe this as like a hazy lager, like in a weird
actually,
way.
you know what I
Good
did.
call. Yeah, I can see that.
yeah.
So yeah, just going right at 3.5.
So for me, and maybe it was just because I was drinking out of my lobster mug back in the day, I originally rated this a 4.25, but now digging and doing more research into the actual beer itself,
Just
I feel
before, sorry, just to cut you off. When did you have that beer originally? Just because that's good to
June
know.
of 2020.
Okay,
a while
so
ago, yeah.
yeah,
A while ago,
So I
yeah.
think it's kind of
the
good
original
to note
thing that
that.
I saw was like, okay, I don't remember it being like this. I had to take a look at the picture. It's like, oh, hazy. It had to be there, right? But for me, like again, as I said, like now I have more research and know what kind of what goes into the beer.
Yep.
My rating's gonna go down. I'm still gonna have it as a 4.
Okay.
I still like the beer, and I can, as Mike B said, like I can still get in trouble with this. It's just not as hazy as what it's advertised to be.
And I think that's really respectable. Is just understanding where you were at once, and then the evolution of time and understanding and more beers.
And knowledge.
And that's
right?
what I mean. Is the knowledge. So that's a really good point.
And the
right?
producer Wayne, he's also giving it a 3.5. So apparently, I'm the only one who's stuck out here.
Yeah. Just in the Whiteout by yourself.
Yes.
That gives us a team overall score for Untapped of
Wayne.
3.5625. We're going to round that down to a solid 3.5. Chris.
Yes, we are, and we're going to move on to beer number 2. So the second beer on today's episode is a very new release.
How new?
Well, in fact, at the time of our recording, it's not even on Untapped yet.
That's pretty new.
That's
It's
new.
very new. This is
new.
an exclusive
Craft beer connoisseurs.
exclusive. It's there you go. It's the Cranberry Saison, and it has a 6.0 ABV and 19 IBU.
Yes. So this beer is part of the Northern Winter Survival Kit that has just been recently released in the LCBOs. So it also may contain the Northern Lager, the Skull Rock Stout, and a toque. Tyler, please explain more.
So here's the thing. So reaching out to Sleeping Giant, we said, hey, you want to be on the podcast? They sent us this beer. We were very thankful for that.
Absolutely.
But let me tell you, there's going to be 4 really, really cold heads this winter. Okay? Now, here's the thing. Would we have liked a toque? Yes. We would have. And we're reaching out and saying, hey, if you got that toque, it's one of a kind. Everybody wants these. These are limited edition. You're going to want a toque from Sleeping Giant Brewing, okay?
We do.
We-
We would
we
like
have
that.
to survive down south, too.
We
Yeah,
would.
exactly.
You know, sometimes we get a nice little cold front off the water. Toque would be nice. So here's the thing. This is actually their first time making this specific Saison, right? So usually they do like a summertime, you know, it's Saison season.
Yeah.
We're kind of moving out of summer
Definitely.
This is
yeah.
correct. Yeah.
into the fall. And
Yeah.
with that being the case, you kind of see, we actually discussed this a year ago, probably to the day, about cranberries. And so we had this conversation about cranberry being a very fall, winter kind of fruit, right?
It is.
Sure.
So
Sure we did.
when you say Saison season, you say it 3 times fast. Best of luck to you. I'm not going to do that because I don't play those games. It is again brewed with Superior 2-row pale Alan Munich
It's actually pale.
pale ale. Yeah, you messed that up, Brett.
Actually, it was Chris.
Chris and Brett messing up on the script. So 2-row pale ale Munich and wheat malt with, again, the Escarpment Lab yeast. So they use that same kind of yeast, right, from the same Escarpment Labs, which is nice.
Yep.
So it's simply hopped with an orange zest, which is nice because you see cranberry and orange a lot of the
Yep.
time.
They go
Especially
well
Go
together.
back to the
Yeah.
cranberry orange saison we have from Counterpoint.
For sure. Thank you. Yeah. And you see that in baking all the time too. So now that's added in the kettle, then finished with Old World Saison yeast. Then cranberries are added at the end of the fermentation process. Now the thing with cranberries, very interesting kind of harvesting cranberries. Farmer Fife would be the first one to tell you. They are harvested when they create this bog. So they increase water flow. The cranberries raise and then they can harvest them. So that's just one kind of fun fact that
That actually is correct.
Right, they harvest them in the
yeah.
water. I remember that
They
from
do.
the Ocean Spray commercial. I think.
exactly.
Yes.
And a big fun fact about that too is Bala has a lot of cranberry bogs as
I think
well.
he learned
which is-
all his cranberry farming from Farmville.
There it is.
Probably.
Chris, what do you got?
All right, so Sleeping Giant says about this beer, the festive season brings great food and memories. We at Sleeping Giant Brewing Company wanted to invoke some of that holiday spirit with notes of cranberry and orange and let the Saison yeast bring the spice. This Cranberry Saison was brewed and packaged exclusively for this Northern Winter Survival Kit.
And for the craft beer concerts. So
And
it
us.
just
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah,
there.
I don't know why that wasn't added to the can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should have put it on.
They should have put us. All right, so on Untapped, there's 0 check-ins, guys.
So what we're going to do is we're going to give them 4 check-ins
Yeah.
for 4 toques. All right.
Just so everybody knows, the rating for 0 check-ins is 0.
All right.
Oh, funny how that works.
All right. Here we go. So, for the first time, for Craft Beer Connoisseurs exclusivity, grab the can, grab your nice glassware, which we're going to find out in a second, and let's open her up.
How's the first time, boys?
It's awesome. All right, so we are drinking this exclusive beer out of a tulip glass. So you can drink a Saison out of a tulip or a chalice, but make sure to use the proper glassware.
Nice.
Okay, so what are we getting off the old aroma there?
Yeah. So I'm getting cranberry. I am getting cranberry on the nose.
That's good, because if you were getting something else, it probably would be good.
for sure.
I am getting cranberry, and I'm also getting just kind of like, I don't even know how to describe it, but just the traditional Saison smell.
Yeah, exactly.
Like what I would expect.
They have
from a
that
Saison.
distinct scent.
Yeah.
You can tell for sure.
Now, are you getting any kind of like orange zest?
I feel as though orange zest is always going to be in the taste, not in the aroma.
Yeah.
Okay. A little bit spicy maybe on the nose as well.
Yeah, a little bit.
But again, that kind of mixes with the Saison
That's
kind
just-
of.
Almost smells like
Yeah.
a Bath and Body Works candle.
Okay. No, that's fair. That's a very fair, yeah. Now, what about appearances?
Not a Bath and Body Works candle.
So I'm going to be honest. This is probably hazier than the
Actually, yeah,
whiteout
you
that
are
we
okay.
had.
It is, yeah. So you can't really see through this puppy, right? It's not really translucent as we go.
Well, producer Wayne's got his light out onto the on the glass. It looks like a lava lamp.
Almost
You
looks
know
like
what?
he's scanning it going across the border.
I
It's
think, yeah, I was just going to say, I think Wayne and producer Randy need to hang out because they enjoy CSI. And this is very close to what you can get for the CSI techniques.
Who are you?
There it is. So yeah, it's not really translucent. You can't see through the whole entire thing. Again, with a tulip glass or a chalice, you're dealing with a wider body
Yes,
instead of that kind of like thin body glass.
like
thin,
in the IPA or something.
yeah, in the IPA, you'd be able to see a little bit through more often than you would with this chalice or as we're drinking out of the tulip glass. Yeah, I think it holds well. The lacing might be actually pretty good on this one.
I think so.
The head retention isn't.
I was just going to say the head retention is very, very minimal.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I also feel like it keeps enough that as you drink through it, you're going to see
It's-
that
it's gonna
lacing.
hold. It's
Yeah,
gonna
as
hold,
you
yeah.
kind of go through it, right? So it's very a couple of millimeters, but at the end of the day, I feel like that lacing is going to just carry through as you drink through the beer. So Chris, you want it?
I do want it. Let's
got
What
try
about
it.
me? What?
No, I'm looking at Chris, and he's just
No, you guys have
Looking
made
at his
eye-to-eye
lips.
contact. Good for you guys. I will also drink this now, but I'm going to just talk to all the people out there while they drink it until one of them speak up, so then I can also drink it.
Brett, go ahead and drink it.
Thank you.
so usually with a saison, I mean, you kind of get that. I don't want to say like farm kind of flavor to it,
Yeah,
but farm flavor to it.
well, yeah, and
More
the
organic, if you
the
will.
flavor profile on Untapped is actually classified as farmhouse ale
Right.
dash saison, right?
Okay.
So definitely, I agree. You kind of get that.
Organic.
Yeah, it's like very earthy.
Yeah,
right.
very earthy. That's
Yeah.
a good way of putting it. You get that with this, but again, there's enough spicy kind of flavor profile as well as that cranberry that it offsets it just enough. Like you're drinking a saison,
Yeah.
And I respect that because, again, it sticks within the category in which it is. It's not pretending to be something different, but yet you have those notes of, I don't know if it's a cinnamon kind of like flavor profile coming through with a cranberry. This beer, I think, would actually is good cold. I think if it warmed up as well, I'd be okay with that. And normally you wouldn't see the Saisons, but with this one here, if it warmed up, I feel like that would be a very nice, have this pairing with maybe a Dutch apple pie. I think that would be a good combination.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting how brewers can make such a distinct flavor with a Saison with just changing the yeast, basically. Right?
Yep.
So, like, the Saison yeast makes the whole difference and, like they said, adds the spice, if you will. Producer Wayne has kind of said maybe clove coming through. Like, I would kind of agree with that. A little bit of Hefeweizen flavor coming through here.
Should we move into the 5 flavor profiles?
Well, let's do it, but there's actually none listed, so...
Okay.
So we're making our own.
It's not on Untapped, so
let's
we're
make
making our
5
own.
before we get into the Untapped users, because we're getting all short on time.
And Untapped users.
Yeah,
for this
it's
beer.
true. So, Brett, why don't
I'll do it.
Do you want to kind of fire off? And this is it comes from the producer as well.
Number one for me is definitely number one. I feel as though this beer definitely brings that Saison spice. So number one is spicy.
Spicy
and
really
I think
nice.
it's very, very heavy on it.
Yep.
I'm liking this beer for sure.
Saisons aren't my number one flavor.
I agree with that.
Type of beer.
Yeah,
and
me
this
either.
one actually does a really good job. I think producers saying the same thing. So spicy. Okay, what do you got for number 2?
Number 2 is earthy.
Yeah, I think I'd either go earthy or I'd move that cranberry up because I feel like the earthiness is kind of subdued by the cranberry flavor profile. That's just me. You guys can agree or disagree.
Number 3.
Okay, I guess there's no agreement or disagreement. Good job.
No, just mediocrity, no. Number 3, clove.
Yeah, I mean, and again, these were kind of provided by Wayne, but I agree in terms of if you were to say the spiciness is the clove, like I would agree with that. And again, it kind of tastes like that Hefeweizen almost, so I'm fine with clove.
It's got some clove in it.
Yeah.
I think.
Do you think clove is above cranberry? That goes back to my agreement.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay, then you should have spoke up.
Personally, I'm not
I was
getting.
enjoying the beer.
I'm not getting as much cranberry as I would like from a cranberry saison.
I was thinking there would be more cranberry. Though.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
agree with that.
Yeah, I just figured with the spice and the clove, it'd probably be like 3 cranberry, 4 clove.
And I'm getting an agree from Wayne here. I personally I would expect
He wrote them. You would.
but I would expect cranberry to be number 1 in this beer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 4, cranberry.
Yeah. I mean, I think 4 is an appropriate place for this.
See, I think 3 and 4 should be switched. Personally.
Okay. Number 5, soft.
Yeah. Okay, so that's going to move us on to the Untapped users. There are none currently, so we actually get to skip that section here.
That makes that easy then.
We don't need to hear anybody else's opinions. All we need to know is that this beer is a good beer. We're going to rate that now.
We are the Untapped users.
We are.
And Tukes will hopefully be on their way. Chris, what do you got out of 5 bottle caps? What do you got?
So I'm giving this one a 3.5. Like we kind of mentioned, Saison is not my kind of go-to style, but this is a pretty good Saison, so 3.5.
You know what, Chris? I'm going to agree with you. Like it's a pretty good Saison. Again, not my style. I was hoping for a little bit more cranberry.
Me too.
But you know what? For a Saison, very, very tolerable. So I'm going to give it a 3.75.
Yeah, so for myself, I'm actually going to give it a 3.75 as well. I'm not a huge fan of Saisons generally. I feel like they've done a pretty good job with this one, actually, like a very good job with this one. Cranberry would have been nice to kind of come to the forefront. I feel like I tasted it more than pretty well anybody here. Yeah. So producer Wayne is going to give it a 3.25. Kind of hoped a little bit for more cranberry. Now, Chris, you've got the task of giving our overall score. So what do you got there, bud?
Well, thanks to Wayne, he's giving it a 3.5625 overall, which we're going to round down to a 3.5.
Okay. So that concludes the review of Sleeping Giant beers they provided, and also again appreciate the Craft Beer Connoisseurs exclusive.
Yeah.
And look out for the Northern Winter Survival Kit.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
So coming up, we're going to be talking about our idea of a backyard oasis.
All right, so Sleeping Giant's slogan is brewed in our backyard. And so that got us
Whoa,
thinking.
whoa. It's brewed in my backyard?
Well, not yours.
Okay.
You have no backyard.
It's true, which we're going to get to.
So we all love spending time in our backyard, right?
This is
Don't
correct, yeah.
have one.
I have a huge one, so yes, I understand. Yeah, I like it.
on me.
You like spending time in my backyard.
I do like spending time in your backyard, especially when you got the water table out there. It's a great time.
Oh, I also have a water table in my backyard.
Wow.
Nice. All right, so maybe that'll be incorporated, but
Probably
what
not.
does our backyard oasis look like?
Well, I feel as though it's just a brewery in my backyard.
Wow,
Okay.
that's a good idea.
Are you starting, Brett? You up?
Wait, you want
Go for it, yeah.
Let's go.
Go.
Let's do it.
Do it.
Any specific things that I want in my backyard? Beer. That's a good one. Gonna need that.
Yep.
Just a nice sunny day. Whether it be in the summertime, maybe a nice fall day, whatever. Some leaves are kind of falling.
What about like physically?
I told you, beer in my
Trees with
backyard.
leaves. Did you not hear the man? He's a simple man. All right.
I am not single. I have a wife.
Simple.
Oh, I thought you said single.
No, you are simple.
Unless you know something I don't know.
We'll talk offline.
Okay.
So I'll jump in on this
Yeah,
one.
go for
so kind of like things that I would like in my backyard. So, I mean, I kind of want the stereotypical like deep lot.
Yeah.
Whether it's in the country, I'd like that a little bit of space. Maybe if I could get a big enough property, go through the zoning, do that whole entire thing. Maybe get 2 lots out of it for you, Chris. We could do the whole like underground tunnel where we could just
between the houses.
between the houses.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
might
Or you
work-
could just walk over.
No.
No.
So
What
kind of-
about in the winter?
right? We would need a toque
Bundle
for that.
up and walk over.
We would need 4 toques.
Right.
So one thing that
2 for each of you, right?
Yeah, no. So a couple things that I would kind of look for myself for my backyard. I would like a kind of like raised garden aspect. Make my own grow my own vegetables, as well as like fruit trees. I would like a lot of fruit trees. And with that being said, I've kind of been a huge kind of like closet fan, if you will, of like apiary. So doing my whole like bees and doing that kind of whole aspect. So I would like to get some kind of bees in there, do honey, and have the bees contribute to the garden as well as the fruit trees.
So what you're
Nice.
saying is playing on the sting for a long time is really got you into bees.
maybe. But I think it's all reciprocating, right? I want to spend a lot of time outside. I don't mind mowing grass.
Yeah.
We'll kind of get to that a little bit later on. But anyways, those are kind of some things I'd like to see.
Yeah, so I'm kind of along the same line. So I'd like a lot of space kind of away from the neighbors. I don't want to be outside looking at my neighbor's house.
Right. Which you are currently. So you can appreciate a lot
I
of
definitely
neighbors.
am, yeah.
Yep.
So I'd also like a covered porch so that I can barbecue in the winter.
Would you like a pizza oven?
I would love a pizza oven.
Would you like a Traeger?
I would love a Traeger.
I would
Traeger
love
too, don't worry.
any smoker.
Yeah.
So basically, I just want to have barbecued food in the winter.
All the
which
time.
Right now, I don't do, right? Because I don't have, first of all, the light to do it. And second of all, the covered area to
Your
do
wife
that.
doesn't hold up like your phone light just so you can see what you're barbecuing?
No, and I also don't shovel my deck
Nice.
so that I can get to my barbecue. So
Fair enough.
yeah, so I would
You
like
know,
that.
it's one of those things if you put your barbecue closer to the sliding window that you have, then it'd be a lot easier to get to your barbecue.
Fair enough.
Yeah, well, my
Priorities.
porch, my porch light isn't that bright. So
Get a new light.
anyways, I'd also like kind of like a. Did you ever watch like those on HGTV, like the
deck
deck
build?
shows?
Yes,
Yeah.
buddy.
I've never watched HGTV in my life.
Yes, all the time.
All right.
Continue.
So I would like one of those like 3-tiered decks, like
Yes.
where you have a sitting area, a dining area,
Yeah.
maybe a fire pit area.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I want those different areas.
It
of the
scares
deck.
me how like
Similar
in
we
tune-
are?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
scary. Now let's go to producer.
Yeah.
Let's check that out. So the producer says, gotta have a big yard on the water, which actually is great. But the problem here is the distance between water and occupation, right? Because I've been
Right.
looking a lot at like, I'd like to get on the water, but to get to work is a bit of a distance. So let's be realistic with it. Big deck covered and big smoker guy. And we've talked with some producers in the past that have been to some breweries that have some smoked meat. We all like smoked meat.
We all love it. Yeah.
Dried sausages.
So that'd be good. Now, here's the thing. The producer and I have a lot in common when it comes to the cutting of the grass,
Yep.
right? I call it the vacuuming of the lawn, right? I don't mind vacuuming. I don't mind vacuuming inside, and I don't mind cutting the lawn as well. I'm also not opposed to getting a GPS guided like Roomba for the grass.
I've seen one of those. Those are pretty sick, actually.
Someone in my neighborhood has that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
insane.
always just kind of moving around their
there.
yard.
Just
Yeah.
doing its
So
work.
here's the thing. I don't know if you guys can agree on this one, but I do as well. I grew up with this. The producer would also like to say, love to have a pond with fish in addition, to being on the water. I had a pond with fish.
Yeah.
Love it.
That'd be cool. My grandparents had that.
My
That would be
neighbor
cool.
has
Yeah.
that, so I don't have to have it, but my neighbor has it.
But would you want that if you got a different lawn or backyard? Take it
no.
or leave it. Sounds
No,
good, Brett.
no.
All right.
Hey, in terms of my backyard, like 3 weeks ago when the whole rainstorm happened, I had actually a waterfront property. Just disappeared. But in terms of that, I just want internet connection, a hot
Outside?
tub,
Yep.
a projector, like a Jays game when they're like in Seattle or Anaheim on a Saturday night. I
Nice.
just watched at the back with a couple beers with the boys.
Very good.
I'm good to go.
Nice.
Simple as that.
So there's a lot of similarities I think we can draw between a lot of us. What about a pool? Pool, yes, no, maybe so?
My wife would like a pool. We had like a little mini one this year. She really enjoyed it.
But you're not much of a swimmer, right?
Oh, I'm not. If I can get like a outdoor pool that's like 5 feet deep, winner. Daniel. No deep end for this guy.
Personally, right now, like, I don't really have a desire to have a pool, even a hot tub.
It's a lot of maintenance.
Yeah,
Right?
it's so much maintenance to have a pool. Maybe like 10, 15 years from now, when my daughter's a little bit older, can enjoy the pool a lot more, maybe, but it's so much maintenance.
Yeah, I believe it was my baseball coach, Coach Ken, right? You'll know.
Yeah, I do know him. Also, producer Wayne will also know him.
Yeah. Said, you know what? You don't need to get a pool. It's best to know somebody with a pool,
That's good advice.
right?
He also does not have a pool.
No. What one hell of a slip and slide.
It's true. Also, if you round third, he'll send you no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. So indoor pools are obviously better than outdoor pools, right? But
Oh, indoor
Probably-
pool would be unreal.
probably don't have the
Yeah, indoor
availability
pools
of
have
those.
coverage.
Yeah. Outdoor TV, always a plus.
Awesome.
I want to know what the score of the Jays game is, no matter if I'm indoors, outdoors. We know what my basement setup's going to be look like at the end of the day. Let's do something about the outside, and producer obviously agrees with that.
Producer Wayne, he does agree.
Right.
All
Okay.
right. Well, that's an amazing conversation about our oases
Amazing.
in our backyard.
Amazing.
Why don't we wrap it up and get to our farewell?
All right, and that's all for today's episode.
Thanks again for listening. Keep on listening every other Thursday as Craft Beer Connoisseurs releases a new episode, and on our off Thursdays for a producer special.
Make sure to tell your friends, family, and whoever you invite to your backyard because, like, the Craft Beer Connoisseurs podcast is great listening material.
Yeah, so from all of us at Producer Wayne, I'm Tyler.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Chris, and together we're the Craft Beer Connoisseurs.